The stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse of space, but none shone brighter than Zalora, a planet that seemed to glow from within. Its crystalline forests refracted light into dazzling rainbows, and its floating islands drifted lazily through skies painted in hues no human eye had ever seen before. It was here, in the heart of this alien paradise, that Queen Valithra ruled her people, the Luminari. The Luminari were breathtakingly beautiful, their skin glowing faintly as though lit by an inner star. They were tall, graceful, and possessed minds so sharp they could solve problems faster than any machine humanity had built. But for all their brilliance, they harbored a quiet disdain for other species, especially humans. To them, Earthlings were little more than clumsy children, short-lived, chaotic, and prone to destruction. Their history of wars, pollution, and greed made them unworthy of serious consideration in galactic affairs. When Earth's first diplomatic envoy arrived on Zalora, hopes were high among humanity's leaders. This mission wasn't just about forging alliances. It was about proving that humans belonged among the stars. The crew consisted of 5 individuals chosen for their intelligence, adaptability, and charm. Captain Ilara Hayes led the team, her brown eyes reflecting both determination and curiosity. She believed deeply in humanity's potential, even if others doubted it. Upon landing, the envoys were escorted to the grand throne room, where Queen Valithra awaited. Her presence alone commanded awe. Dressed in flowing robes that sparkled like liquid moonlight, she sat atop a throne carved from what appeared to be solid starlight. Around her, courtiers whispered behind delicate hands, their laughter carrying an undertone of mockery. Alara stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "Your Majesty," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of scrutiny upon her. "We come in peace, seeking partnership and mutual understanding." Valithra raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a faint smile. "Partnership," she echoed, her tone laced with amusement. "You speak of unity between our peoples. Tell me, Captain Hayes, how does one partner with those who cannot even govern themselves without chaos?" The words stung, but Alara refused to let them show. On her face, "We have learned much from our past mistakes, Your Majesty. Humanity is capable of greatness when given the chance." The Queen leaned back, studying Alara as though she was some strange insect under glass. Then, unexpectedly, she rose from her throne and descended the steps toward the humans. In her hand, she held a small, ornate box, intricately designed with swirling patterns that seemed alive, shifting slightly as though breathing. "This," Valithra said, holding the box aloft, "is something my people created long ago. A test, you might call it. Something so complex that only the truly exceptional can unlock its secrets." She paused, her luminous eyes locking onto Ilaros. "If you open this box, I'll marry you." A ripple of shock ran through the room. Courtiers gasped, some stifling giggles, while others exchanged smirks. Marriage to the Queen, it sounded absurd, almost insulting. Was this a joke, or was there something deeper at play? Before Alara could respond, Valithra placed the box gently into her hands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, as Alara's fingers brushed against the surface, a soft whisper filled the air, a sound too faint to understand, yet undeniably present. It sent chills down her spine. "Take it," Valithra said, her expression unreadable, "and prove to me and to yourselves that you are more than mere savages stumbling blindly through the cosmos." With that, the audience ended. The envoys were ushered out, leaving behind a mixture of confusion and unease. Back aboard their ship, they gathered around the mysterious box, its whispers growing louder now, almost taunting. What did it mean? Could it really hold the key to earning respect in the galaxy? And why would opening it lead to marriage with the Queen? No answers came easily. All they knew was that the box had become far more than a challenge. It was a symbol of everything humanity stood to gain or lose. As Captain Hayes stared at the artifact, her resolve hardened. Whatever lay inside, whatever trials awaited, humanity would not back down. Not this time. Unbeknownst to them, the whispers emanating from the box carried secrets older than the stars themselves, than the fate of 2 civilizations, hung precariously in the balance. Back on Earth, the mysterious box quickly became a sensation. News of Queen Valithra's challenge spread like wildfire across every corner of the planet. Social media erupted with theories, memes, and debates about what it meant to open the box and whether humanity should even try. Some dismissed it as a cruel joke by an arrogant alien queen, while others saw it as a chance for redemption in the eyes of the galaxy. Government scrambled to form committees. Scientists worked tirelessly to analyze its properties, but no one could fully understand how or if it could be opened. Captain Alara Hayes and her team found themselves caught in the whirlwind. They had returned from Zalora not as heroes bringing hope, but as bearers of a riddle wrapped in whispers. The pressure was immense. Humanity looked to them for answers, yet they were just as clueless as everyone else. Each day brought new questions. Was this a test of intellect, a trap designed to humiliate them further, or something far more profound? The box itself seemed alive, almost sentient. It pulsed faintly when touched, emitting soft murmurs that no recording device could capture. Clearly, Those who dared listen closely reported hearing snippets of voices, some soothing, others unsettling, but none made sense. Scientists theorized it might contain advanced technology beyond human comprehension, perhaps even artificial intelligence embedded within its structure. Yet despite countless scans and experiments, the box remained stubbornly sealed. Elar spent hours staring at the artifact, searching for some hidden mechanism or clue. She felt a strange connection to it, as though it were waiting for her. Specifically, her mind raced with possibilities. What would happen if she succeeded? Would marrying the queen truly unite their species? And what did marriage even mean to someone like Valithra? Still, failure wasn't an option. If humanity gave up now, it would only confirm the luminaries' low opinion of them. One evening, during a particularly heated brainstorming session, aboard the ship-turned command center, one of Ilara's crewmates suggested an unconventional idea. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the mission's engineer and resident problem-solver, leaned forward, his dark hair falling messily over his forehead. "What if we're approaching this all wrong?" he said. "We've been treating it like a puzzle to solve, but maybe it's not about logic. Maybe it's about emotion." "Emotion?" Elara frowned. "How do you propose we feel our way through this?" Marcus shrugged. "Think about it. The box reacts when we touch it, right? Maybe it's designed to respond to something deeper than reason, something uniquely human, like empathy, creativity, or even vulnerability." At first, the suggestion sounded absurd, but as the days passed without progress, desperation began to creep in. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and so Elara decided to give Marcus's theory a shot. Late one night, after dismissing the rest of the team, she sat alone with the box. Closing her eyes, she let herself reflect not just on the mission, but on everything that had led her here. She thought about Earth, its struggles and triumphs, its endless capacity for both destruction and creation. She thought about her own life, her dreams of exploration, and the weight of responsibility resting on her shoulders. And then, softly, she spoke to the box. "I don't know what you want," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly, "but I do know that humanity deserves a chance. We've made mistakes, yes, but we've also built wonders. We've created art, music, stories that connect us to each other and to the universe. Isn't that worth something?" To her astonishment, the box responded. Its surface shimmered, glowing brighter than ever before. The whispers grew louder, forming words fragmented and disjointed, yet unmistakably meaningful. Phrases like hope, connection, and unity echoed in her mind. For the first time, Elara felt a glimmer of understanding. This wasn't just a test of intelligence, it was a test of heart. Word of the breakthrough reached the Luminary court almost instantly. Queen Valithra watched the transmission with a mixture of intrigue and disbelief. Around her, courtiers whispered nervously, unsettled by the sudden shift in momentum. Humans weren't supposed to make progress, they were supposed to fail spectacularly. Yet here they were, demonstrating a quality the Luminary rarely acknowledged: raw, unfiltered emotion. Valithra's expression softened ever so slightly. Perhaps there was more to these fragile beings than she'd assumed. Perhaps their chaos wasn't entirely destructive, it was creative too. But even as doubt crept into her thoughts, she reminded herself of the stakes. If the humans succeeded, it wouldn't just change their relationship with her people, it would force the entire galaxy to reconsider its view of humanity. Meanwhile, back on Earth, excitement reached fever pitch. People gathered in parks and city squares, watching live streams of Elara's interactions with the box. Artists painted murals depicting the moment humanity proved itself worthy. Musicians composed songs celebrating courage and resilience. For the first time in years, Earth felt united, not divided by borders or ideologies, but bound together by a shared dream. But the journey was far from over. As Elara continued to engage with the box, new challenges emerged. The whispers hinted at layers upon layers of complexity, each requiring a different aspect of human nature to unlock. Patience, determination, and collaboration became key. Slowly but surely, humanity began to rise to the occasion, not because they sought power or glory, but because they wanted to show the universe who they truly were. For Queen Valithra, however, the question remained: could such flawed creatures really earn her respect? Or was this simply another fleeting spark destined to burn out? As days turned into weeks, humanity's engagement with the box deepened. The artifact had revealed itself to be far more than a simple puzzle. It was an enigma that required not just intellect, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. Each interaction brought new revelations, yet also new challenges. And while progress was undeniable, so too was the growing resistance from unexpected quarters. Elara Hayes remained at the center of it all. Her initial breakthrough, the moment she spoke to the box with raw honesty, had sparked hope across Earth and beyond. But as the complexity of the task became clearer, doubts began to creep in. Not everyone believed humanity was ready for this kind of test. Some governments argued that focusing so much energy on the box was reckless, especially when resources were needed elsewhere. Others whispered that opening the box might unleash something dangerous, something humanity wasn't prepared to face. The whispers themselves seemed alive, evolving as Alara and her team worked tirelessly. At times, they sounded like encouragement, soft murmurs urging them forward. Other times, they carried warnings, cryptic phrases like balance is fragile and asterisk not all truths are kind. These words left Alara uneasy. What exactly was hidden inside? Was it knowledge, power, or something else entirely? Meanwhile, tensions rose among the crew. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, whose theory about emotion had proven pivotal, now struggled under the weight of expectations. He pushed himself harder each day, poring over data and running simulations late into the night. When he suggested experimenting with sound frequencies to resonate with the box's vibrations, Captain Hayes hesitated. "We can't afford mistakes," she reminded him gently. One wrong move could undo everything. But Marcus wasn't alone in his frustration. Dr. Priya Malik, the mission's linguist and cultural expert, found herself torn between fascination and fear. She spent hours analyzing the fragmented phrases emitted by the box, trying to piece together its language. Yet every time she thought she understood, the whispers shifted, revealing new layers of meaning. "It's like it's testing us," she confessed during one particularly grueling session. "Not just our intelligence, but our patience, our trust, even our unity." Unity or lack thereof was becoming a recurring theme. Back on Earth, divisions began to surface. While many celebrated the progress made by Ilara's team, others grew skeptical. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, fueled by those who saw the box as a threat rather than an opportunity. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, holding signs that read asterisk "Don't play God" and asterisk "Focus on Earth first." Leaders scrambled to maintain public support, but cracks were beginning to show. Amidst the chaos, Queen Valithra observed silently from afar. Reports streamed into her court daily, detailing humanity's struggles and triumphs. To her advisors, she appeared calm, almost detached, but privately, she wrestled with conflicting emotions. On one hand, the humans' resilience intrigued her. Their ability to adapt, collaborate, and persevere despite overwhelming odds hinted at qualities she hadn't anticipated. On the other hand, their fragility worried her. Could such volatile beings truly handle whatever lay within the box? Her own people, however, were less ambivalent. Many Luminari viewed the unfolding events with disdain, convinced that humanity's efforts would end in failure. Courtiers mocked the broadcasts showing humans gathering in streets, singing songs of hope and painting murals inspired by the challenge. "Pathetic," sneered Lord Kellis, one of Alithra's most vocal critics. "They cling to emotion like drowning creatures clinging to driftwood. It will get them nowhere." Yet not all shared his contempt. Lady Cyrena, a younger member of the court, watched the transmissions with quiet admiration. "Perhaps emotion is their strength," she mused aloud during a council meeting. "After all, isn't it passion that drives innovation? Isn't it love that binds communities together?" Her words earned sharp glares from the older nobles. But Valithra nodded thoughtfully. Passion, love, unity. These concepts were foreign to the Luminari, who prided themselves on logic and order above all else. Yet perhaps there was wisdom in embracing uncertainty, to let go of control and allow chaos to reveal its own beauty. Back aboard the ship, Alara faced another challenge: fatigue. The constant pressure was taking its toll, both physically and emotionally. One evening, after yet another failed attempt to unlock the box, she collapsed onto her bunk, staring at the ceiling. Doubts swirled in her mind. Had they misinterpreted the clues? Were they chasing something impossible? For the first time since the mission began, she allowed herself to cry, not out of despair, but out of sheer exhaustion, and then something remarkable happened. As tears slid down her cheeks, the box reacted. Its surface shimmered softly, emitting a warm glow unlike anything they'd seen before. The whispers grew louder, forming coherent sentences this time. Asterisk, "You are closer than you think." Asterisk, Alara sat up, heart pounding closer. "How?" She reached out tentatively, placing her hand on the box once more. This time, instead of resisting, it seemed to welcome her touch. A faint hum vibrated beneath her palm, resonating with her pulse. Word of the breakthrough spread quickly. Morale soared among the crew, and even skeptics back on Earth began to take notice. Perhaps humanity wasn't destined to fail after all. Perhaps they were capable of achieving greatness not through brute force or superior intellect, but through connection, empathy, and sheer determination. For Queen Valithra, the implications were profound. If the humans succeeded, it wouldn't just prove their worth, it would challenge everything the Luminari believed about themselves. Could they accept such a revelation, or would pride stand in the way? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: the box was no longer just a challenge. It was a mirror, reflecting humanity's strengths and weaknesses, and forcing both species to confront uncomfortable truths about who they were. The breakthrough came on a quiet evening, one that felt no different from the countless others Hayes and her team had spent huddled around the mysterious box. Exhaustion hung heavy in the air, but beneath it lay an unspoken determination, a shared belief that they were close to unraveling its secrets. The whispers had grown louder over the past few days. their fragmented messages now forming coherent phrases that hinted at deeper truths. Yet despite these clues, the final step remained elusive. That night, however, something changed. As Alara rested her hand on the box's shimmering surface, she felt a warmth unlike anything before, a gentle pulse that seemed to synchronize with her heartbeat. Her eyes widened as the artifact began to glow softly, casting golden light across the dimly lit cabin. Words formed in her mind, clear and unmistakable this time. Speak your truth. Alara hesitated, unsure of what to say. She glanced at her team, Marcus Chen, whose sleep-deprived face still carried traces of hope, Dr. Priya Malik scribbling furiously in her notebook, and Lieutenant Samir Patel, who watched silently, his arms crossed but his expression softening. These people had become more than colleagues. They were family, bound by shared struggles and dreams. And suddenly Alara knew exactly what the box wanted. Taking a deep breath, she spoke, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "We are flawed," she admitted. "We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves, hurt each other, destroy things. We should cherish, but we also create. We dream, we love. We reach for the stars, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because somewhere inside us, there's a spark, a desire to connect, to grow, to be better than we were yesterday." As her words echoed through the room, the box responded. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, shifting into intricate patterns that danced and swirled. A soft chime filled the air, resonating deep within their chests. For a moment, everyone froze, too stunned to move. Then, slowly, the lid of the box began to open. It wasn't fully unlocked and dead, but the progress was undeniable. Relief washed over the team, followed quickly by renewed energy. They worked through the night, guided by the box's subtle cues. Each new interaction revealed another layer of complexity, requiring them to draw upon different aspects of their humanity, creativity, patience, humor, and even vulnerability. By dawn, they had uncovered fragments of what appeared to be ancient luminary texts etched into the box's interior. Dr. Malik pored over the symbols, her excitement palpable. "This isn't just a mechanism," she said, her voice trembling with awe. "It's a story, a record of their history, their struggles, their triumphs. It's alive." Her revelation sent shockwaves through the team. If the box contained pieces of the luminaries' past, then solving it wasn't just about proving humanity's worth, it was about forging a bridge between two vastly different civilizations. Understanding dawned on Ilara's face. "They gave us this challenge because they want to see if we can understand them, not just as superior beings, but as equals." Word of the discovery spread rapidly, reaching Queen Valithra's court within hours. The transmission showed Alara and her team working together, their faces illuminated by the box's ethereal glow. Courtiers murmured anxiously, some impressed by humanity's progress, others fearful of what it might mean. Lord Kellis, ever the skeptic, scoffed openly. "They've stumbled upon scraps of our history, hardly proof of greatness." But Lady Cyrena stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the screen. "Look closer," she urged. "Do you see how they work together? How they share ideas, support one another? Their unity is their strength." Valithra herself sat quietly, her luminous eyes reflecting the flickering images. What she saw unsettled her, not because it challenged her authority, but because it forced her to confront uncomfortable truths. Humanity's flaws were undeniable, yes, but so too were their virtues. Their capacity for empathy, collaboration, and resilience mirrored qualities the Luminari had long suppressed in favor of cold logic and perfection. Could embracing imperfection actually lead to growth back on Earth? The news sparked both celebration and debate. Crowds gathered in city squares, cheering for Alara and her team while debating the implications of the discovery. Artists painted murals depicting humans and Luminari standing side by side, bridging gaps of culture and understanding. Scientists raced to decode the fragments of text transmitted back from the ship, hoping to unlock further insights. Yet, amidst the optimism, tensions simmered. Governments argued over how to proceed once the box was fully opened. Corporate interests pushed for control, fearing the potential power such knowledge could bring. Activists called for transparency, demanding that humanity approach the challenge with humility rather than greed. For Alara, the pressure mounted. Every decision felt weightier than the last. When Marcus suggested experimenting with sound waves to resonate with the remaining locks, she hesitated. "What if we trigger something we can't undo?" she asked, voicing fears that had haunted her since the beginning. Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've come this far because we trusted ourselves and each other. Let's keep going." Inspired by his words, Alara nodded. Together they activated the sound wave generator, filling the cabin with harmonious tones that vibrated through the box. Slowly, the final barriers began to dissolve, patterns shifted, colors danced, and finally, the lid clicked open fully. Inside lay a crystalline orb, pulsating with light. As Alara reached out to touch it, visions flooded her mind, images of the luminaries' rise, their struggles against extinction, their quest for enlightenment. Tears streamed down her face as she realized the depth of their journey and the responsibility now resting on humanity's shoulders. When the footage reached Xylora, silence fell over the court. Even Lord Kellis seemed speechless. Queen Vili rose from her throne, her expression unreadable. "You have done what many thought impossible," she said, addressing the transmission as though speaking directly to Alara. "But remember, opening the box is only the beginning." With those cryptic words, the screen went dark, leaving humanity armed, the galaxy poised on the edge of transformation. The crystalline orb sat at the center of the ship's command room, its pulsating light casting an otherworldly glow across the faces of Alara Hayes and her team. It was no longer just an artifact. It was a living testament to the luminaries' history, their struggles, and their hopes for the future. Yet as awe-inspiring as it was, the orb also carried a weight far greater than anyone had anticipated. The visions it had shared with Alara revealed not only the beauty of the luminaries' journey, but also the fragility of their existence. They were not invincible, they were survivors, much like humanity itself, but survival came with sacrifices. As Alara studied the orb, fragments of memory continued to surface in her mind. Images of ancient wars fought among the stars, civilizations lost to time, and choices made out of desperation. She saw glimpses of the luminaries' decision to isolate themselves from the rest of the galaxy, fearing contamination by what they deemed lesser species. And yet, she also saw moments of profound connection, times when they reached out to others, only to retreat again after perceived betrayals. "What does this mean?" Dr. Priya Malik whispered, breaking the silence that had settled over the room. Her voice trembled with both wonder and unease. "If this is their story, then why give it to us? Why now?" Alara turned to face her crew, her expression resolute, despite the turmoil brewing within her. "Because they're testing more than our ability to solve puzzles," she said. "They want to know if we can bear the responsibility of understanding them, if we can see them not as gods or enemies, but as equals." Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The stakes had never been higher. Opening the box wasn't just about earning respect, it was about proving that humanity could handle the truth without fear or greed driving their actions. But as the days passed, external pressures mounted, threatening to derail everything they had worked so hard to achieve. Back on Earth, divisions deepened. Governments clashed over how to interpret the orb's revelations, while corporations lobbied fiercely for control of the technology embedded within it. Protesters filled the streets, some demanding transparency, others calling for caution. Conspiracy theories multiplied, fueled by those who believed the orb harbored secrets too dangerous for humanity to possess. Even within the scientific community, debates raged about whether unlocking its full potential would bring enlightenment or destruction. Amidst the chaos, Queen Valithra watched silently from her throne. Reports streamed into her court daily, detailing humanity's response to the orb. While some of her advisors dismissed Earth's turmoil as evidence of weakness, others began to see something else: resilience. Despite their flaws, humans refused to give up. They argued, they fought, they disagreed, but they kept moving forward, united by a shared desire to understand. Lady Serena voiced her thoughts during one particularly heated council session. Perhaps their discord is their strength. She suggested they embrace complexity rather than shying away from it. Isn't that what growth requires? Her words earned sharp glares from Lord Kellis and his allies, but Valithra nodded thoughtfully. Growth through struggle, a concept foreign to the Luminari, who prided themselves on order and perfection. Yet perhaps there was wisdom in imperfection. Perhaps embracing uncertainty could lead to breakthroughs even they couldn't foresee. Meanwhile, aboard the ship, tensions ran high. Fatigue gnawed at the edges of everyone's resolve. Marcus Chen pushed himself harder than ever, determined to decode the orb's final mysteries. His hands shook as he adjusted the sound wave generator, trying to synchronize its frequencies with the orb's vibrations. "We're close," he muttered under his breath, though doubt lingered in his eyes. "I can feel it." Dr. Malik, meanwhile, struggled to piece together the fragmented memories contained within the orb. Each new revelation brought more questions than answers. "Their pain feels so familiar," she admitted one evening, tears streaming down her face, "like echoes of our own history. Wars, loss, betrayal, but also hope. So much hope." Samir Patel stood watch, his usual stoicism giving way to quiet admiration. He had always doubted humanity's ability to rise above its flaws, but seeing his teammates pour every ounce of themselves into this challenge changed his perspective. "You're doing something extraordinary," he told Ilara quietly. "No matter what happens next, don't forget that." And then, the breakthrough came. After countless failed attempts, Marcus finally found the right frequency. The orb responded instantly, its light intensifying until it filled the entire cabin. Visions flooded their minds once more, but this time, they weren't passive observers, they were participants. Together, they walked through scenes of the luminaries' past, witnessing their triumphs and tragedies firsthand. They felt the heartbreak of losing loved ones, the joy of rediscovery, the ache of isolation, and the longing for connection. When the visions faded, the orb dimmed, leaving behind a single message etched into its surface. Asterisk, will you carry the burden of knowing? Asterisk. Ilara stared at the words, her chest tight with emotion. To accept meant taking ownership of not just the luminary's legacy, but the lessons it held for all sentient beings. To reject meant retreating back into ignorance. Safe but stagnant, there was no easy choice. Word of the development reached Xylora almost immediately. Courtiers buzzed with nervous energy, unsure of what would come next. Queen Valithro rose from her throne, her gaze fixed on the holographic transmission showing Alara and her team gathered around the orb. For the first time, her expression softened not with arrogance, but with something akin to hope. "You have seen our scars," she said, addressing the image as though speaking directly to Alara. "Now decide, will you help us heal, or let the wounds fester?" Her words sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Humanity stood on the precipice of a decision that would shape not only their destiny, but the fate of two civilizations. The pressure was immense, but so too was the opportunity. As Alara looked at her team, she knew what they had to do. "We'll carry the burden," she said firmly. Together, the decision to carry the burden of knowing hung heavy in the air aboard the ship, but it also brought a strange sense of clarity. For Alara Hayes and her team, there was no turning back now. They had seen the luminary's scars, their triumphs, their failures, their longing for connection, and they understood that this wasn't just about proving humanity's worth. It was about forging a bond between two civilizations, one built on mutual understanding and shared vulnerability. But accepting the responsibility wasn't enough. They had to act on it. The crystalline orb pulsed softly, as if waiting for them to take the next step. Its light seemed gentler now, almost inviting. Alara reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing its surface. A surge of warmth spread through her body, accompanied by whispers that felt less like instructions and more like encouragement. "Show us who you are." Alara closed her eyes, letting the emotions wash over her. She thought of Earth, not just its flaws, but its beauty. The vibrant cultures, the art, the music, the resilience of people who refused to give up even when faced with impossible odds. She thought of her crew Marcus Chen's relentless determination. Dr. Priya Malik's passion for discovery. Lieutenant Samir Patel's quiet strength, and she thought of herself, a woman who had once doubted whether she could lead, yet had risen to the challenge time and again. When she opened her eyes, her voice was steady. "We're not perfect," she said aloud, addressing both the orb and the galaxy beyond, "but we're willing to try, to listen, to learn." Her words resonated deeply, triggering another transformation within the orb. Its light intensified, shifting from golden hues to brilliant white, filling the cabin with an almost blinding radiance. Visions flooded their minds once more. But this time, they weren't just passive observers, they were contributors. Scenes unfolded showing moments of human history, carefully curated by the orb itself. Acts of kindness, creativity, and unity played out before their eyes. Volunteers rebuilding after natural disasters, scientists collaborating across borders, artists creating works that transcended language barriers. As the visions continued, the orb began emitting sound, a symphony composed of fragments of human voices, laughter, music, and even silence. It was chaotic yet harmonious, raw yet beautiful. This, Alara realized, was humanity's essence distilled into something tangible. The orb wasn't merely recording, it was responding, creating a bridge between two worlds. Back on Xylora, Queen Valithro watched the transmission unfold with bated breath. Courtiers whispered nervously among themselves, some marveling at the display, others recoiling in discomfort. Lord Kellis scowled openly, his disdain evident. "Sentimental nonsense," he muttered under his breath. "This changes nothing." Yet, Lady Cyrena stood transfixed, tears glistening in her luminous eyes. "It's breathtaking," she murmured, "so alive." Valithro remained silent, her gaze locked onto the screen. What she saw challenged everything she believed about humanity. Their chaos, once dismissed as weakness, revealed itself as a source of strength. Their imperfections didn't diminish them, they defined them, and their willingness to embrace vulnerability. That was courage in its purest form. On board the ship, Alara and her team worked tirelessly to stabilize the orb's energy field, ensuring it wouldn't overload. Marcus adjusted the sound wave generator, fine-tuning its frequencies to match the orb's vibrations. Priya documented every detail, her hands trembling with excitement as she recorded the unfolding phenomena. Samir monitored the ship's systems, ready to intervene if anything went awry. Finally, the orb emitted one last pulse of light, then settled into a soft glow. An image appeared within its crystalline structure, a map of the galaxy, overlaid with intricate patterns resembling constellations. At its center lay Earth and Xylora, connected by a shimmering thread of light. "It's a proposal," Alara breathed, realization dawning. "A way forward for both of us." When the transmission reached Xylora, the court erupted into murmurs. Some viewed the map as a threat, others as an opportunity. But Valithra saw something else entirely. Hope. She rose from her throne, her voice cutting through the noise. "Enough," she commanded, silencing the room. Turning to face the holographic projection of Alara and her team, she spoke with unwavering resolve. "You have shown me what I feared to see, that growth comes not from perfection, but from embracing imperfection. from connection. Her declaration sent shockwaves through the court. Lord Kellis sputtered in protest while Lady Serena smiled faintly, vindicated for the first time. The Queen's expression softened not with arrogance, but with humility. If you accept, we will meet you halfway. Together, we will weave a new story, one written not by fear or pride, but by trust. Ilara nodded, her heart swelling with emotion. We accept. The announcement reverberated across the galaxy, igniting celebrations on Earth and sparking cautious optimism among the Luminari. Humanity had proven itself not through brute force or superior intellect, but through empathy, creativity, and unity. The box had been more than a challenge. It had been a mirror, reflecting the best and worst of both species. And as the two civilizations prepared to meet face to face, the orb pulsed gently one final time, its whispers fading into silence. Its purpose fulfilled, it became a symbol of what could be achieved when hearts and minds came together. The meeting between humanity and the Luminari took place on a neutral moon orbiting Zalora, its surface shimmering with opalescent sands that glowed faintly under twin suns. It was a fitting backdrop for an event that would reshape the course of galactic history. Representatives from Earth gathered alongside Queen Velithra and her court, their differences stark yet somehow harmonious in the shared light of dawn. The crystalline orb, now silent but still radiant, rested at the center of the gathering, a symbol of the bridge they had built together. Alara Hayes stood beside Captain Hayes as the two leaders approached each other. For a moment, there was only silence, the weight of millennia pressing down upon them. Then Valthro extended her hand, her luminous eyes meeting Elara's with quiet respect. You have earned this moment, she said simply, her voice carrying both authority and vulnerability. Not through force or cunning, but through courage, the kind born of connection. Alara shook her hand firmly, her own voice steady despite the emotions swirling within her. We didn't do it alone, she replied. This is not just a victory for humanity, it's a beginning for all of us. As the formalities unfolded, the atmosphere shifted. What started as cautious diplomacy blossomed into genuine exchange. Humans and Luminari mingled freely, sharing stories, laughter, and even tears. Artists sketched portraits of the luminous beings while musicians played melodies inspired by the whispers of the orb. Scientists exchanged knowledge, marveling at how much they could learn from one another. Even Lord Kellis found himself reluctantly drawn into conversation, his skepticism giving way to grudging admiration. For the first time, humanity saw the Luminari not as distant, untouchable figures, but as individuals flawed, hopeful, and searching for meaning just like anyone else. And the Luminari in turn discovered beauty in humanity's chaos, finding inspiration in their creativity, resilience, and capacity for love. Back on Earth, the news sparked celebrations unlike anything the planet had ever seen. Cities lit up with fireworks, streets filled with song, and people embraced strangers as though old friends. Murals depicting humans and Luminari standing side by side became symbols of unity, painted on walls across continents. Schools incorporated lessons about the event into their curriculums, teaching future generations the value of empathy and collaboration. Yet amidst the joy, there was also reflection. Leaders acknowledged the challenges ahead, the need to address inequalities on Earth, to ensure that the partnership with the Luminari benefited everyone, not just a privileged few. Activists reminded the world that earning trust required action, not just words. Humanity had taken a monumental step forward, but the journey was far from over. On board the ship, Ilara and her team gathered one last time around the orb. Its glow had dimmed, almost as if it were content to rest after fulfilling its purpose. Marcus ran his fingers lightly over its surface, smiling wistfully. Feels strange to think we're done with you, he said. You've been such a big part of our lives. Dr. Priya Malik nodded, her eyes glistening. It's not goodbye, she said softly. What we've learned will stay with us forever. Every whisper, every vision, it's all part of who we are now. Samir Patel, usually reserved, spoke up unexpectedly. We proved something important, he said. That strength isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to grow, to change, to connect. That's what makes us human. Ilara smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride not just in herself, but in everyone who had contributed to this moment. And maybe, she added, that's what makes the Luminari more human than they realized. As the days passed, life began to settle into a new rhythm. Trade agreements were signed, cultural exchanges flourished, and joint research initiatives launched, promising breakthroughs neither species could have achieved alone. But beyond the tangible outcomes lay something far greater, a shift in perspective. Humanity no longer saw itself as small or insignificant. Instead, it recognized its place in the cosmos as imperfect, yes, but also indispensable. Queen Velithra reflected on these changes during a quiet moment in her throne room. Gazing out at the crystalline forests of Xylora, she felt a profound sense of gratitude for the challenge that had forced her to confront her assumptions, and for the humans who had risen to meet it. Perhaps marriage hadn't been necessary after all. The bond forged through understanding was stronger than any title. In the end, The box and the orb within it had served its purpose. It had tested, revealed, and ultimately united two civilizations. As the galaxy looked toward the future, it did so with hope, knowing that even in imperfection, there was beauty, and in connection there was strength. Alara stood on the deck of the ship as it prepared to depart Zalora, gazing out at the stars. Her thoughts drifted back to the day she first touched the box, unsure of what lay ahead. Now, she knew. Smiling softly, she whispered to herself, "We opened the box and found ourselves."